Welcome to the Music Reel. I'm your host, Nicola Burton. Today, I have two of the organisers of the Be an Arts Hero campaign in the US. Now, I have Matt and I have Brooke. Hey guys, how you going?
Hi.
How you doing?
Is that an Australian thing? You say how it going?
How you going? Okay, say it with me. How you going?
How you going?
There you go.
How you going?
Aussies already. There we go. All right. Look, now we have, and obviously this arts and cultural challenge across the globe right now. No one's earned any meaningful income for the last 6 months. So which one of you wants to go first and tell us about Be an Arts campaign or Be an Arts Hero campaign rather? And I want to also hear about the Dawn Act. So which one wants to talk about that?
So I'll take About Us and Matt can take Dawn Act, yeah?
Let's do it.
All right. So, we are a movement helmed by four co-organizers, myself, Matthew Lee Erlbach, Jenny Grace Macholm, and Carson Elrod, and an incredible group of volunteers. We are 100% volunteer run. We all of this began a little less than 2 months ago, Nikki, when we looked around and we were like, oh, we probably just need to advocate for ourselves. It dawned on us, wink, wink, that there was no sector-wide mobilizing effort in the US, that everyone was more or less advocating for themselves, right? And the needs of their own members and constituents. So our unions are doing that, our advocacy groups, coalitions, et cetera, everyone's going to Congress with their own individual asks. But it dawned on us, why don't we try to bring everyone together to provide a unified front? Because if we all go to Congress together and ask for one big ask for the entire sector at large, wouldn't that be more effective? Could we have more success if we do that? So the last 2 months have been us coalition building across all sectors: museums, libraries, operas, symphonies, ballet companies, theaters, TV, film industries, et cetera, and getting institutions to partner with us, getting coalitions to partner with us, unions to partner with us, and then employing celebrities to use their platforms to get the word out so that they can share the message that all 5.1 million arts workers in America should be raising their voices to get Congress to pay attention to pass as much relief as we can possibly garner, right? And we're also taking meetings with senators and House reps daily. We are, as Matthew will talk about, we created our own bill, and we're in the process of garnering co-sponsors right now. Our thesis statement, our intention is to keep all 5.1 million arts workers alive in their homes with jobs to return to when the crisis subsides. That means 100% COBRA subsidies, so people do not lose their health insurance during a deadly pandemic. That means an extension of the federal pandemic unemployment compensation program until the crisis subsides, because most of our arts workers have no jobs for the foreseeable future. And it also means $43.85 billion in proportionate relief to the entire arts and culture sector. So I'll let Matt speak to the Dawn Act.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So, to Brooke's point about having a unified voice, when I joined Be an Arts Hero, it was a couple weeks old, and I had started writing this letter, and what we ended up doing with the letter was garnering nearly 15,000 signatures from around the country, which is leaders of every major arts organization. And when you and I first connected, that's what we were talking about originally. And so I want to bring that up because when that moment happened for us, we realized rank and file arts workers, celebrities, Tony, Pulitzer, Oscar, Emmy, Grammy winners. This was top to bottom. This was every financial strata of our industry, from opera to museums, library, theater, comedy, burlesque. And so what it said to us was, this is the unified voice. This letter for the Senate has given people a way to express the economic story that has not been told in our government. And so we use that as a key to open up Senate office doors and House representative doors and say, hey, you have to listen to us because we have something huge to tell you. $877 billion, 4.5% of our GDP is about to go missing, and no one is speaking up for it. And if we were any other industry that had a dedicated department in the government, we'd be taken care of. So when we had these meetings, the next thing we learned was we needed to write legislation, because they were saying to us, do you have this in bill language? And so we thought, okay, well, we thought that was your job, but sure, we'll happy to help them make your jobs easier. So we looked at the deficiencies of existing policy proposals, Save Our Stages, Restart, CARES Places. We looked at all this and we said, you know, they told us not to reinvent the wheel, give us bill language we can pass on to our staff and legislative counsel. And we're like, great. So we created a bill summary, a statement of intelligible principle saying, here's what we need to do. And what that is it's saying, we want 5% of our $877 billion. That's $43.85 billion. It's a precedential 5%. The top 10 airlines lobbied Congress in the last COVID package and got $50 billion for their $1 trillion. And so we're looking at precedential numbers. We want to make this case airtight and very bold and audacious, because in our country, we get tens of millions of dollars which is a cup of water throwing at a wildfire. And we're saying, no, 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 no. We need helicopters right now all across the country, dumping an ocean of water to put out the fire on our anchor institutions. And as you know, it's funny when we talk about Sydney, whenever I think of Sydney, you know what I think of? The Opera House. It is iconic. It is a cultural institution. It is the skyline of New York to Sydney. And so whenever I see a picture of Sydney, it is an opera house. So we're saying you have to elevate our institutions, because they are, as I like to say, they're stars. And if they implode, what goes down is in a highly interdependent commercial ecosystem: hospitality, restaurants, tourism, retail, you name it. We're trying to sustain all of this so we can prevent a galactic collapse. And so what DAWN does, Defend Arts Workers Now is the acronym DAWN. We can only get through this economic darkness by the light of dawn. It takes this $43.85 billion, unprecedented in American history, and gives it to existing infrastructures of the National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, Institute of Museum and Library Services, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and SBA. And it says you disperse this money to the operators, artists, and employees of live venues, recording venues, cultural spaces, and related businesses. And I'm laughing because I usually say Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, and Brooke always corrects me. So that's what that was about.
I love it.
I was waiting.
You did well, Matt. Listen, as you said, arts and culture are the expression of a nation, right? That it is big business, as you've just outlined, because without our sectors, nothing else works. Nothing else works.
Yep.
So, we need help. And I love what you guys are doing. So there's two things I've seen that impress me. Number one, the Will I, sung by the guys from Rent. How awesome was that? And then I think I've seen a couple of things of people standing in Times Square holding the cardboard signs. So perhaps talk us through the kind of campaign activities you guys are going through. It's so creative. It's getting people's attention better than any sort of violent protest could. So tell us what you guys are doing.
The impetus behind these demonstrations that you're speaking to, it's about redefining the conversation, Nikki, because as you said, we are a big business, right? The arts are big business, but we are here to change the conversation and rewrite that narrative so that artists can redefine themselves as arts workers, as laborers, as a labor force. We are a labor movement. So we're here to say, we are an arts economy. We are a big business. Treat us as such. We deserve proportionate relief. So with the campaign that you saw in Times Square, with the Will I video, it's the famous song from the musical Rent. It asks the questions, will I lose my dignity? Will someone care? Will I wake tomorrow from this nightmare? And the idea behind it is, why are we reduced to beggars? Why is there this starving artist mentality when our worth should be intrinsically tied to economic value? So we're here to change that conversation. With the folks, the arts workers holding the signs up in Times Square, it was, I am Brooke, I am a singer, actor, I am an arts worker. So we're in all of these plans that we're putting out into the universe, and everything we're doing in the short term and the long term, it's all in service of changing that narrative so that we can redefine amongst ourselves for our own intrinsic value, but also to our friends on the Hill, so we can redefine that conversation. We can change that conversation so we can be valued as a creative economy, and so that so that we can get the same relief that the airlines get. Because why not? Why have we been left out of this conversation? It's nonsense. So we're here to change that.
And it's incredibly positive strategy, isn't it? Like, it's because I don't know what you guys are like. We over here, we are so angry. We're so angry. And the mental health aspect of this whole 6 months, I think we need to, I guess, look after our industry in terms of that. So Matt, I know you're about to say something, and if you can talk about that, how people are feeling right now as well.
Our country is angry too. We're exhausted and we're desperate, which is why you see Black Lives Matter, which is why you see an insurgent women's movement, which is why you see arts workers unite all over the country. One of the things Brooke said is arts are considered extracurricular and luxury in our country, and we're redefining arts worker because it's not just the artists, it's admin, it's custodians, it's janitors, technicians, engineers, carpenters, you name it. This is who arts workers are. And so we're saying, here's where we are, here's what we are, and here's who we are. And we're in every neighborhood, we're in every state, and we are billion-dollar economic drivers. We are right now, America, facing a moral crisis and an economic crisis and a democratic crisis. And so where we are at in 2020 is very similar to where we were at in 1920. The labor movement at the turn of the century changed the narrative for working people for the rest of the 20th century. And so what we are a part of is an intersectional movement that is fighting for economic justice, for racial justice, social justice, and to right the ship that has gone astray over the decades. And we're fighting for power is what we really are. Yeah, Brooke.
Something that our co-leader Carson Elrod said the other day. He was having some beers with his sister and his friend, and they realized what immediately followed the Spanish flu, the Roaring '20s. What immediately followed the Black Plague, the Renaissance. So if there's any hope at the end of this dark tunnel, we need to think, the arts. We're going to be what brings our nation back to life, right? And so we need relief now and investment later. We always say in our senator meetings, if you want to rebuild this nation, if you want to bring a strong economic recovery back to America, invest in the arts. The arts and culture sector's economic growth rate is 4.16% in America. That's nearly double that of the entire nation's economic growth rate, which is only 2.22%. So we always, leave our senators with this sexy pitch. We say, there can be no full American economic recovery without a robust arts and culture recovery. And as Matthew says, it's because our fates are intrinsically tied together. They need us.
Exactly. And in every business plan across the planet, it's all about arts and culture. So you can't leave us out at the table if it just doesn't work. Matt, what have you got to say?
One thing, when you were talking about campaigns, my favorite campaign is not one that we did. It's one that we discovered last night. This is my favorite campaign. Cellists from symphony orchestras all across America put together this gorgeous video. And it's about the Dawn Act and Arts Workers Unite and being an arts hero. We didn't know they were doing it. We just discovered it. They did it on their own. So the art, the collaboration, this is inspiring, is part of what this movement is. And we are coming together across all sectors and joining together with this moment. And so it brought me to tears last night. I just posted it. And if you find it, I highly recommend you repost it too. It's gorgeous.
I love that. And I think you're right. We are creating, because we are creatives, our own roadmap to recovery. And there is a vision. We're almost there, guys. We're doing well for you, Matt. There is a vision where if we could, across all continents, collaborate, connect, and create something together. I guess, what would that look like? Let's finish with some sort of call to action for every other arts worker across the planet. What can we do together to let's join forces to actually create this change that we actually want to see?
You know, I think that starts with the people. I think the people need to make it known that we are a huge economic driver, that we are the workforce, you know, on whose backs the entire sector relies. I think if every arts worker in every part of the world is changing that conversation and voicing this is my worth to their governments must then give them the relief and the funding, that investment that they deserve, right? So it starts with the people, I think. I think it starts with the people demanding their worth and how their worth is intrinsically tied to an economic value. Matthew?
Yeah, you can't have the conversation if you don't start the conversation. And so that dialogue has to be engaged with your local government. One of the things that has to happen here, and I would imagine everywhere, is at a local level, we need to respect, recognize, and appreciate what our artists and arts institutions do for our communities and for our nations. And some do better than others. And I would say in this moment right now, what we can creatively do globally is enhance the hashtags that we're coming up with, because this is a global movement. So if we can all rally, what an incredible moment for craftsmen and arts workers to unite.
I was going to say, you know, we co-opted the hashtag Save the Arts, which started in the UK. So the idea that these hashtags are transcending continents, you know, that's pretty prolific. The idea that thought leaders can transcend continents if they just get enough people mobilized behind an idea, right? So for everybody listening, if you want to hashtag DonAct, if you want to hashtag Save the Arts Economy, if you want to hashtag Arts Hero, be an Arts Hero. Matthew?
Arts Workers Unite.
Arts Workers Unite. I think then we can talk about what our collective future is going to look like, rebuilding as we come out of this crisis, right, Nikki? Because to us, the idea that's so exciting is that because we're in a moment of just complete implosion, that actually holds great promise, right? Because we have the possibility of creating an entirely new terrain, and it can be I think paying attention to the need to correct racial inequalities, social inequalities, what great promise we have to rebuild a better future.
We will design the future.
Yeah, exactly. I love what you said. You said transcending continents. I think that's the key, is that there's no continents, we're just all in this together. And I think the languaging, we're all arts workers. That's it. No distinction. I have loved hearing about what you guys are doing. I've loved watching what you've been doing on social media, and I'm so grateful to you guys for talking to me today.
Our pleasure.
And I'd love to catch up with you down the track just to see what you're doing. I think we have to keep this conversation going. What do you reckon?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Oh, absolutely.
Yes. And Matt, I think we've done it. How's your time looking?
My time is fine. It's great. I've been fixing my hair the whole time. We're good.
That looks great. Look, and also let's do a big shout out to Amber for putting this together, because
we love you, Amber.
We love Amber.
Amber, we love you. So thank you. Love the hair. Love talking to you guys. Take care, and please stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
Bye, guys.